It says, and catcheth away that which was sown in his heart. This is he which received seed by the wayside, so it didn't do nothing for him. But he that received the seed in the stony places, this is the key, the same as he that heareth the word, and anon with joy received it, right? He quickly accepted it. Yet hath he no root in himself, but endureth for a while. For when tribulation and persecution arises because of the word, and my woman leaving me, my so and so, this, that, the other. Oh my God, right? By and by he is offended. So now I ain't signed up for this. This is also a good one. He also that receives seed among the thorns is he which heareth the word, and the cares of this world, and the deceitfulness of riches choke the word, and he becometh unfruitful. See? So this is you, some of you guys. You know, the cares of this world have consumed you. So obviously you don't know what the hell you're involved in.
All right, Shalom. Giving all praises, glory, and honor unto Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahushai, Ba'ashem, Rachak, the ones to the elder apostles and bishops of the great millstone that rule well. Peace, blessings, and salutations unto the full elect tabernacle of David, scattered abroad across the four corners of the earth. And I'm just responding to Elder Apostle Ramlab's live lesson. 2025, the sifting continues. And right around where he started to read the parable of the sower of the seed, you know, kind of, spirit hit me to, go and, try to do a response because, it's, if you've been in this thing long enough, you already know. Around this time, almost every year, which is getting close to the Pesach, it's always either before, during, or after the Passover, where a lot of the sifting starts taking place with the Lord's house. The apostles always referred to it as a spring cleaning. And, by the time, we get to the real new year, enough time will have passed, where, brothers have, utilized that time to, grow, get better, become more diligent, stay on the path. But it's also enough time for, brothers who, who can lose their focus and lose the thrill and end up falling back into the elements. And that usually will start to show in due time. The Spirit reveals it. And just before, during the Passover, the Spirit usually highlights it. And that individual or group of individuals, who did not continue to grow, who started to become useless. They're not as persistent anymore. They're losing the fire. Their minds are back into the world. They're kind of like halfway in, halfway out. That's usually the indicator that certain individuals were sifted. All right. And it never fails because this happens almost every year. All right. The guys end up getting kicked out, or they end up leaving because, they just wasn't able to endure the task. Now, we know the Lord said, he that shall endure unto the end, the same shall be saved. But not everybody is chosen that were called. Many are called, only a few are chosen. And if you're not chosen but called, eventually, there's going to be a time when you're gonna start falling away, and it's just only a matter of time. All right, so I'm just adding to this lesson, and what I want to do is I want to go to an example where you had Paul, he called out certain men by name, of men who I would say they fall by the they fall by the thorns. When the Lord talks about those who they continued in the word, but the cares of this life and the riches of this world, they choke the word and become unfruitful. All right. Now I want to go to second. Actually, I'm gonna go to Second Timothy, the first chapter, and I'm gonna scroll down and let me go to the NLT. So this is Second Timothy 1, and I'm gonna start at verse. I'll start at 11. It says, "And the Most High God chose me to be a preacher, an apostle, and a teacher of His good news. That is why I'm suffering here in prison." So Paul, he was a prisoner, but that didn't stop him in his devotion to the Lord. It didn't stop his service. Okay, that man was on fire for this thing, man. It says, "But I am not ashamed of it, for I know the one in whom I trust, and I am sure that He is able to guard what I have entrusted to Him until the day of His return. Hold on to the pattern of wholesome teaching you learn from me." Basically, this doctrine that you learn from me, in the ordinances that I gave, hold on to that, right? A pattern shaped by the faith and love that you have in Hamashiach Yahushai through the power of the Holy Spirit who lives within us. Carefully guard the precious truth that has been entrusted to you. And this is important as well. If you on fire, that's exactly what you're going to do. You realize that this truth is very precious. And because you've been entrusted with it, you're going to protect it, with your very life. This is the reason why day in and day out, a lot of our videos are geared towards defending the gospel. Whether it's against these damn Christians that come against us, whether it's against these scoffers and scorners, or whether it's against these false teachers, self-proclaimed prophets, men of the Lord, but they're going off on major teachings. So we carefully guard this truth because it's been entrusted to us. It says, "As you know, everyone from the province of Asia has deserted me, even Phygellus and Hermogenes." Okay, so these were two individuals who actually were co-workers. They were fellow laborers in the Lord with Paul, and they basically dipped out. They went back into the world for whatever reason. All right. So if this was happening way back then, it's definitely going to be happening now. These two individuals that he called by name, they were called, but they wasn't chosen, or they would have continued with Apostle Paul, even if it meant catching hell with Apostle Paul, even if it meant they had to be locked up, just like Paul was being locked up. It's what comes with the territory. All right, you get tired of this and you feel like you rather just go back into the world because you're more comfortable there, then that shows you that you were not of the Lord. You could not bear going through that straight gate. You rather go where it's more comfortable for you. Apostles always reference, being Stoics. Stoicism can definitely benefit you in its truth. Because it's not meant to be fun. It's not meant to be comfortable. All right. But for a lot of Jake, it's just, it's not enough for them. So they have to try to receive some kind of earthly fulfillment. And they know that they're not going to get that, remaining in this faith. where you come to endure and suffer, go without and not feed your flesh, feed your ego. And it says, may the Lord show special kindness to once he for us and all his family, because he often visited and encouraged me. He was never ashamed of me because I was in chains. When he came to Rome, he searched everywhere until he found me. May the Lord show him special kindness on the day of Hamashiach's return. So he was like a companion, a friend. He made sure that he checked on Paul. And Paul is basically, putting in the good word about him. All right. And he's definitely of the elect. It says, and you know very well how helpful he was in Ephesus. So you had helps and friends of the prophets that's going to receive their reward for their role in supporting of the ministry. All right. But those who actually put their hand to the plow were actual workers. And then you put it down, and then you abandon your post. You abandon the work and you just go back to the world. That means you left your first love. So your name is not going to be written in the book of life. Okay. Nor is when you depart, the Lord's not going to remember none of the works that you did. So let's go from there to 2 Timothy 4, and I'm gonna start at the 9th verse. And it reads, it says, Timothy, please come as soon as you can. Demas has deserted me because he loves the things of this life and has gone to Thessalonica. Crescens has gone to Galatia, and Titus has gone to Dalmatia. Only Luke is with me. Bring Mark with you when you come, for he will be helpful to me in my ministry. All right. And there was various reasons why they all left. All right. But he specifically, what he said about Demas is exactly why he ended up leaving. It's because he actually loved that particular age. The things, the activities that was going on there, business, trade. He probably got a job opportunity or whatever the case may have been. And he ended up taking that, and it superseded his devotion to Yahweh Bashem Yahushai. He had more. He had more. It was more priority to take whatever business or whatever thing that it was that took his heart away from this truth. All right, he had more priority for that than this actual truth. So real quick, I want to read this this commentary. I'm going to go to Matthew Henry's commentary. And I'm going to read down, and it says, here it is. It says, here are diverse particular matters which Paul mentions to Timothy now at the closing of the epistle. He bids him hasten to him, if possible, so thy diligence to come shortly to me. For Timothy was an evangelist, one who was not a fixed pastor of any one place, but attended the motions of the apostles to build upon their foundation. Paul wanted Timothy's company and help, and the reason he gives is because several had left him, which Paul understood. It's actually harder when you're on your own. When you go to that in Ecclesiastes, was it 9, chapter 4, verse 9? Yeah, Ecclesiastes 4. in 9, and it says, two are better than one because they have a good reward for their labor. For if they fall, the one will lift up his fellow. But woe to him that is alone when he falleth, for he have not another to help him up. Again, if two lie together, then they have heat. But how can one be warm alone? So Paul understood, it's actually harder when you by yourself. So he at least had Timothy, who he set over the church, to come and assist him, right? And then he goes on to call out one of the men who left him, right? It says, one from an ill principle, namely Demas, who abides under an ill name for it. Demas have forsaken me, having loved this present world. He quitted Paul in his interests, either for fear of suffering, because Paul was now a prisoner, and he was afraid of coming into trouble upon his account. So he could have been afraid and didn't want that, to catch up with him. So maybe it was the tribulation, and that's one who falls by the wayside, if I'm not mistaken. Let me go to the parable, because the Lord mentioned the different ways you could be sifted out in this parable. In Matthew, Matthew 13 and 19, it says, when anyone heareth the word of the kingdom and understandeth it not, then cometh the wicked one and catcheth away which was sown in his heart. This is he which received seed by wayside. But he that received the seed into stony places, and this can be in reference to Demas. He could have either fell upon a stony place, or he could have received it among the thorns. All right. And it's all based on speculation dealing with the history. All right. It says, the same is he that heareth the word and anon with joy receiveth it, yet he have not root in himself, but doeth for a while. For when tribulation or persecution ariseth, basically when it start to get thick, all right, persecution, you somehow get into a situation defending the truth, and you end up getting into something, and you end up getting locked up for this truth, or what Esau is eventually going to end up doing, where he's going to come with some type of story or some false narrative to paint us with a broad brush, so that he can poise the minds of the average consumer of mainstream media, so that they can think negatively towards us. So when they come in and try to snatch some of us up and lock us away, the people would be after us. All right. So, stuff like that can happen, and you can see some Jake getting weak, and basically throwing their garments out, distancing themselves from the ministry, from the camps. Some of them are even, they'll come out and say, "Oh, I used to be a Hebrew Israelite, but I'm not a part of that cult no more." They doing that because they don't want to have to later on face the persecution that the men of the Lord are going to receive. And that's what you call cowardice. They're fearful. And the script, that's why it says in Revelation 21, and the fearful and the unbelieving, they're going to have their part in the lake of fire, man, which is the second death. You got fearful, man. You left your first love. You cared about what the world perceived about you. So it says, persecution ariseth because of the word, by and by he is offended. He also that receiveth seed among the thorns is he that heareth the word, and the care of this world and the deceitfulness of riches choke the word, and he becometh unfruitful. Basically unproductive. He's not producing in the ministry. He's went to lukewarm, and eventually to cold, which the Lord said, if you're going to be lukewarm, he's going to spew out of his mouth. He doesn't need you. Okay. If that fire is no longer there, he just going to just get rid of you. So Demas was, he was getting cold feet. He may have got lukewarm, and he saw things going on over in Thessalonica, because you look up the history of Thessalonica, there was a lot of trade going on in business. You had a lot of entertainment. As a matter of fact, let me, this is what I'll do. Customs and traditions. So you see is when you look this up, it says Thessaloniki, Greece is a cosmopolitan city that blends ancient and modern Greek culture with European and Asian traditions. Here are some customs and traditions in Greece. It says the name of the days. All these current days are named after Greek, Greco-Roman deities. It said dances. Greece has over 4,000 traditional dances, as well as pan-Hellenic dances that are popular throughout the country. Athletic competitions. So this was all what was going on, in that region. Okay, which happened to be where Demas, that's where he went. It says ancient Greeks were unified by athletic competitions such as the Olympic Games, which were often tied to Greek mythology. It is customary in Greece to get engaged before getting married. You got the Greek carnival called Apokris. So, hey, it was a lot going on, man. A lot of things that can get you distracted. If you had a woman, and you wanted to please her, they had all the different festivities and activities, to keep her, satisfied. So you can see how some of these, living in this type of region could have been a stumbling block to dudes who are not deeply rooted. They didn't have any real true foundation. All right. Because you got so much going on in that particular city. You start to get carried away into, a certain lifestyle. It says Thessaloniki is a lively city that is considered Greece's cultural capital. Some of its top attractions include the Aristoteles Square, the city's central square, which is a hub for social and cultural life. Yeah. And then you had the Dionysus cults and Serapis cults there. Let me see. And I'm pretty sure you even had like the theaters there too. It said, of course, the true Christian, the true Christianity. All right, Thessaloniki was one of the first places where Christianity was preached, and the second Christian church on the European continent was established there by Paul the Apostle in 50 A.D. Yeah. It says the Agora. Says during the early Christian period, the Agora was converted into a cistern that was part of the city's water supply system. A healing shrine was also built in the east section of the Agora, the marketplace. The Thessaloniki had a gymnasium, of course, place of exercise, a stadium. All right, just we got stadiums here. Acropolis, a monumental city gates during the Roman period. Yep. And I believe you had like what they call the Odeon. Yeah, Odeon. Ancient Greek and Roman buildings. Odeons were smaller than Greek and Roman theaters and were built for musical performances. So just like here in America, showing you that this is Rome all over again. Okay. You have these different places all throughout Babylon where you can actually go and sit and watch some a poetry slam, musical performances. Like in New York, you had the Palladium, you had nighttime at the Apollo Theater. They would do plays or up and coming musical acts come and perform. You had all these different places like that all throughout America. So it says theaters were built for musical performances, poetry competitions, and singing exercises. The word Odeon comes from the ancient Greek word oideon, which means singing place. And there's a lot of singing places out here, right? Different little spaces that you can rent out and put chairs and seats and have music playing. Some examples of Odeons include the Odeon of Agrippa in Athens, the Odeon in Domitian in Rome, and the Odeon of Herodes Atticus in Athens. Right, and you had even these in Thessalonica, if I'm not mistaken. Yep, movie theater, cinema. So you had cinemas there. So it was a lot of activity over there. So you can see, knowing the history, why Demas would have, fell away and went back into the world. All right. So going back, it says, let me see. I think I left off. It says he quitted Paul in his interest either for fear of suffering because Paul was now a prisoner and he was afraid of coming into trouble upon his account, or being called off from his ministry by secular affairs in which he entangled himself. His first love to Hamashiach and his gospel was forsaken and forgotten, and he fell in love with the world. And we're supposed to not love the world, neither the things that are in it. Right? And we don't get involved in that. We don't get entangled with the affairs of this life, how we may please him who called us to be a good soldier in Yahushua. So we don't fall in love with this, man. Plus we hate it here. It's completely corrupt, it's wicked, and you're in captivity, so there's nothing to love here. You can't enjoy anything. Nothing is pure, organic, everything is artificial. It says, note, love to this present world is often the cause of apostasy from the truths and ways of Hamashiach Yahushua. He has gone off and has departed to Thessalonica, called thither perhaps by trade or some other worldly business. All right, so that's what tripped him up, and he ended up becoming unfruitful. All right, so he was Demas was sifted. He got sifted out of here, man. He had more worldly other business to tend to than to tend to our Father's business. That was more important to him. All right, it says Crescens had gone one way and Titus another way. Luke, however, remained with Paul. And was not this enough? Paul did not think it so. He loved the company of his friends. Okay. So I just wanted to bring this out just to add to the lesson, because this is a way that you can be sifted if you're not careful, if you're not being sober and vigilant. All right. This is the worst time to be distracted and to lose focus and lose passion for this truth at this time, man. Because, the time is going to come where none of this shit in this world even matters, which is why I got this up. This is 2nd Ezra 16 and verse 40 in the Great News translation. And this is what it says. It says, listen to my message, my people, and get ready for the battle. And this is a battle that we're fighting, but this is not a carnal battle. This is more spiritual. It says, when the disasters come, you must live as people whose home is not in this world. So basically, that, this is not our rest. We have no place in this world. No matter what's going on, you got wherever you may dwell, there's activity, there's business, there's a way to make money. People are marrying and giving in marriage. All that is going on. But we have to, have it in the back of our minds that this is all going to go up in smoke at some point. Everything is going to be lost, including lives. People are going to die, man. So leave this world behind is basically what this is saying. Be prepared for that. It says merchants must not expect to make a profit from what they sell. Don't get attached. Don't have any emotional attachment to any of this. This is all temporarily. It says they must be ready to run for their lives. Their customers must expect to lose whatever they buy. Whoever builds a house should not plan to live in it. Right? Because, we don't know what type of, we don't know what time that we have. We know that things are moving quickly and things are going to get progressively worse. Because, we're in the beginning phases of the sorrows, beginning of sorrows. So we know that eventually during travail, the contractions, they even though they might lessen, but they last longer and they're more painful the closer you get to the labor. Okay. It says farmers should not expect to harvest their crops or pick their grapes. Those who marry must not expect to have children, and those who don't marry must live as if they had been widowed. And Paul said in Corinthians, those they that have wives be as though they have no wife, because you're going to be you're going to be busy and occupied, with this woman, which is this truth, this wisdom. But you're not going to completely just ignore your woman. Especially if she be pleased to dwell with you and she's a believer too. You're not going to just, leave her in the corner. All right. You still tend to her. The scriptures tell you to provide for your household. Give her due benevolence. All right. Love your wife as you love yourself. So obviously that's not the message to just completely abandon your woman and act like she doesn't exist. But what that's saying is, basically spend your time wisely. All right. You might want to, have more time for this. And then, if you got time over, you can tend to whatever else you need to tend to. All right. But knowing the days that we're approaching, none of this shit of this world is going to matter, because the Lord's going to turn everything, he's getting ready to take away the mirth. All right. It says anything that is done will be useless. Foreigners will harvest the crops and siege the wealth, tear down the houses, and carry off the children as slaves. Trafficking, kidnappings, people coming after each other, spoiling each other because of tribulation and lack of bread. All right, it said anyone who has children will be bringing them up to be slaves or to die of starvation. Anyone who makes money will do so only to see it violently taken away. And Jake, they worship money on this side. That's the top priority, getting to the bag, making that money. And they have no idea that you could make all that money you want. But what you gonna do when martial law hits, or when those seditions start happening, and people form mobs and they start, attacking people in the very cities, trying to spoil whatever it is that you got. It says the more possessions people gather, the more they spend on their cities and houses, the more attention they give to their personal appearance. Yeah, you're going to make yourself a target because, hey, everybody's going to be desperate and in need because this society is going to be collapsing. It says the more angry the Lord will become, it's like the more angry the Lord will become with them because of their sin. Okay. So this is just giving you the mind frame of what to have. And if you got this mind frame, this world, the things of this world, won't be strong enough to, pull you away. All right. But if these things pull you away, then that means that you got sifted and you was not chosen. So Demas, he wasn't chosen. He was just called. Now let me go from there. Let me get Philippians 2:20. And it says, I have no one else like Timothy who genuinely cares about your welfare. All the others care only for themselves and not for what matters to Yahushua Mashiach. He's talking about those who left, who abandoned the truth, or who started to, fall away, the apostate, these apostates that went away. They only cared about themselves, their own bellies. They were enemies of the cross. But Timothy, his companion, this is why he set him up in that position, because Timothy, he was devoted. All right, he cared for the church. Paul cared for the churches. Okay. And, when you leave from this ministry and you dip off back into the world, that means that you really didn't care for the church like that. You didn't care about brothers' welfare. You didn't care what estate, brothers were in. You just want to dip off and go and do you. So, yeah, man. So the sifting is definitely going to continue because certain men, they're just not rooted and built. They didn't fall on good ground, so they're going to wither away. Whatever it is, that can happen, even through seducing spirits, teaching bugged out doctrines. And you get convinced, persuaded, and then now you following this doctrine that you didn't hear from the apostles, and then you get pulled away just like that. Like you got the Boston baked beans, they still out there, but the spirit been checked out. So now not only do they teach that the other nations can make it, they also teaching the virgin birth now. So them dudes, they're just gonna continue to wax worse and worse until we don't see them anymore, bugged out. And then you had the two loonies down there in Mississippi. It was gone for 8 months, and then they pop up on Christmas Eve, talking some more shit, and even worse. They don't even know what the hell they even out there for. So these things can definitely happen, man. So that's why we continue to pray, and Psalms 51. That's one of the most heavy prayers you can pray. It's for the Lord to not take you out of His presence and to take His Holy Spirit from you. And that's what happens to all these guys that get sifted out. The Lord take the Holy Spirit from you. And the latter end is worse with you than in the beginning. So, yeah, man. So, like I said, it was just a response to Elder Apostle Ramlab's lesson. The sifting continues, and there's going to be different things that Satan can come with to try to sift you, to shake you up, shake up your faith, and get you up out of there. You being in a uncomfortable position for a period of time, whether it's your family, you love your family, your wife, your kids more than you love the Lord. Or you love the things of this world, and the things of this world is calling you back into it. Can be a plethora of things, and that's why you got to be on guard, man. Straight, like just constantly guarding yourself. And that takes self-examination. So anyway, I'm gonna end off with that, and hopefully this was edifying. I'm give all praise to Yahweh Bashem Yahushai. And until the next lesson, Shalom.